All right, should we kick off? Cool. All right, can everyone here see me okay? Or if those who've got the screen on, can you, Nikki, can you see me? I can just looking at you, that's why, yeah. Awesome. All right, thank you and welcome to the Creative Natives Graduate Workshop. My name is Ryan. I'm the founder of Creative Natives. We're a specialist recruitment agency that operates across Australia and the UK. We recruit everything in the creative industry, so think marketing, PR, design, UX, UI, comms, e-commerce, social media, so everything in the creative marketing space. Our marketing manager, Leah, will be manning the chat today. The sessions that we've had in the past that have worked the best have been ones that have been fairly interactive. So rather than me speaking solidly for an hour, please feel free to jump in with any questions. I think the numbers today are pretty accessible. So if you have any specific questions, if I'm saying something that perhaps doesn't make sense or you want to kind of dive a bit deeper into it, then please just drop in the chat and we'll go from there. Okay. So today's agenda, we'll try and just to give you a bit of an overview. We'll go through why you should try and build a personal brand and how to do it, how to land an internship, tips and tricks to nail your cover letter, the best way to present your work, practical ways to kickstart your career, and we'll finish off with a question and answers at the end. Just before I go into this, why are we doing this? Ultimately, as a recruitment business, we make our money, and we're as a business work by placing candidates into roles that are briefed from clients. Now, usually the requirement from our clients are that the candidates need to have a certain level of experience. So, as a business, we don't believe in just saying, no, we can't help you because you haven't got experience. We actually think that we can provide you guidance, tips, tricks to help, get your foot in the door. So that's essentially why we do it. I have a lot of calls or a lot of emails from juniors and different levels, but hopefully this hour will give you some practical tips to take away and hopefully land your first role in the industry. So just before I kick off, I'd love just to hear a bit from you, and maybe just drop in the chat just the I guess the area that you're looking to get into within the industry. So whether it be creative, marketing, PR, would love to just if you can just chat in there what area that you're looking to get your foot in the door, if you can, that'd be great.
Desktop publishing, creative UX design, creative strategy UX, creative, lots of creatives in this chat.
Yeah, awesome. Okay.
Marketing industry, specifically market research. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, great. So nice mix of people in the room. So just a bit of backstory. So I founded Creative Natives, it says 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago. It was just me in my kitchen, and we've now grown to 14 people and growing. So I guess the way in which I've been able to do that through socials and through content, which I think is probably a lot of the reason why you guys have seen our content on LinkedIn. And I want to kind of give you, I guess, bit of tips and way how you can apply the way we in which build our business to how you can actually utilize that to get yourself noticed and build a personal brand. So it's not all about personal branding, but I did want to just share some tips that work for us. So maybe you can actually apply that to your direction. So when I mentioned personal branding, I mean, again, in the chat, has anyone tried it? Has anyone had any success with personal branding? And I mean, does anyone, I guess, grasp the concept of what the personal brand is for you?
Not yet,
No.
but I'm guessing people might be thinking about
Okay.
that.
Oh,
All right, I know what personal branding is, but haven't really created one for myself. Desperately hoping my folio site establishes my brand well enough. Thank you for sharing, Ray and Adele.
awesome. Okay, so I guess for me, personal brand is the way you define and promote what you stand for as an individual. So that's a combination of experience, skills, values, what makes you you. Okay, so for creatives, building an effective brand can be the way in which you present your portfolio. It can be the way in which you offer your views, opinions on the design creative world, right? And what I find when building a personal brand, it's essentially taking your static CV, which doesn't really tell the reader anything about you, but through building that personal brand, allows you to then show the audience and show your target market your views, opinions on things, etc. Okay, and as a recruiter, when looking at candidates, one of the biggest things I look for before I'll talk you through the process, and this isn't all recruitment, but I'll talk you through how I would typically go about sort of finding out a bit more about the individual. So if I get a CV or a folio, the first thing I'll do is type their name into LinkedIn and see what their LinkedIn profile looks like, okay? The reason I do that is I get to see what their thoughts are, what their opinions are on it. I like to see the way in which they present their page. And also LinkedIn is a lot more interactive, and you can update that on an ongoing basis. I think a CV, etc., is something that we like to just put together and we forget and doesn't really update over time. So building that personal brand, I think is just a really good way of demonstrating your personality. And I think when you are starting out in your career and you haven't necessarily got the experience, which a lot of people in the school won't have, you've really got to be able to demonstrate initiative and personality and all the things that companies will want to see when trying to get your foot in the door and get noticed. Okay, so I think what the way in which I sort of say that you've got this junction you're at when you've just graduated, you can apply for lots of roles and often get nothing back or rejection on the basis that you don't have enough experience. And that's quite demoralizing. I can absolutely understand that. It's a bit of a chicken and egg situation where you go, how am I supposed to get a role without experience? No one's willing to give me experience, okay? And I completely get that. And I think that's the mindset that a lot of juniors who are struggling to get their foot in the door, that is a natural conclusion to make, and it can feel a bit overwhelming, okay? So I want to just today try and encourage you to sort of park that mindset for a moment, okay? That isn't ever going to shift because ultimately companies want people with experience. So if you are applying through the usual channels, there is a pretty high chance you are not going to get cut through, okay? And that's where I want to shift from being a job searcher to building that that online brand, that being focusing on what you can impact versus what you can't impact, okay? And that's what the whole point of this is to look at. I don't want to give irrelevant, unrealistic advice because I'm sure there's lots of courses and guides out there and they tell you to do this, right? I'm merely coming from this as a perspective of a recruiter, so I'm going to try and give you, which might be quite confronting the truth, but I want to give you as much practical and realistic advice as I can possibly give you. Okay, so yeah, as I said, when you are graduating, you're a needle in a haystack. You're trying to bring to life your experience. You're trying to do this, and it can be pretty overwhelming. Okay, so let's kind of go into how to build a personal brand. Okay, and I'm going to start off by some practical tips around what to do and what to start doing with your LinkedIn profile. Okay, so first off, first impressions count a lot. Okay, so let's talk about your profile picture. Okay, we are positioning you as a professional creative for a lot of you. So with all due respect, the photo of you graduating at your at uni is probably not the one that's going to make you stand out as a super creative person. Okay, so let's make sure that the profile picture reflects you, the personality you want to come across, and your personal brand. Okay, it is not all about wearing a suit and being all formal. If anything, I would actually say in the creative industry that can actually put potential employees off. Okay, so get a photo done that is you smiling, having a creative background, and one that you think reflects you as an individual. Okay, so that's super straightforward. Get your profile picture taken. You know, for those in Melbourne, I'm assuming most are. There's laneways, there's loads of cool backgrounds, but yeah, let's use that as that first impression. Okay. Now, the next one is the banner at the top of your profile. I don't know if anyone has actually customized this, but this is a really easy, effective way of standing out from a lot of LinkedIn profiles. Okay, see your LinkedIn profile as a microsite that is going to promote you. It's that shop window. People are going to look at your profile, make that quick snap judgment. Okay, so customize your banner to your profile. Okay, I mean, equally, again, you're trying to in a way demonstrate your aesthetics and your eye for design. So having a banner that matches the aesthetics to your profile picture is a really, really easy way of standing out from the crowd. Okay, so Canva has a ton of free templates. If you want to look at our creative natives as an example, there's just really easy on the eye matching your banner with your picture, and that's just a really straightforward, particularly if you're working in design. Okay, now on your actual your about section, that's where I would have your a link to your portfolio. Okay, so make sure it's super relevant and easy to access. But hopefully everyone who is producing a portfolio is doing it on a website. Okay, I know there's a bit of uncertainty around how to display your work and what's the best format to it. It is a bit of a bugbear of mine personally to have to open up files. I don't like where there's passwords and things that make it really difficult to access. I think that's ultimately going to make the experience of trying to find your work a bit more difficult than it needs to be. So I would 100% encourage anyone to have a personalized domain with your work showcased in a website. Okay, it might seem like a lot of work at the moment, but I can very, very confidently say the days of PDF are phasing out. And I think that the quicker you can begin the process of setting up a website and being able to present your work in that simple way is going to get you, it's going to set you up for success in the future. Okay. Loads of different websites that you can get really cheap templates for websites. So Envato, I know, is a really good one. You've got Canva. We will share some resources at the end as well, but I would 100% recommend having a URL link on your about section, and to be able to direct them to your work is going to be a really, really easy way of showcasing your work. Okay. Also, a misconception about LinkedIn is that it has to be super corporate. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like, some of the best LinkedIn profiles I come across are super personable. They're very conversational. I find that creatives, you know, like they just have a way of writing that welcomes and feels a warm thing. So having the tone of voice on your LinkedIn profile that matches you as an individual and the sorts of companies and jobs you're looking for is really, really important. You know, if you're someone who's quite fun and outgoing and wants to find a business that is that, I'd probably avoid really corporate jargon, because I think it just doesn't represent you in the right way. And yeah, so be yourself in a long-winded way of saying that. Okay. One thing which is something to think about, which I use this analogy all the time. We obviously had COVID, and that meant that a lot of networking events got put on hold, and we were all stuck at home, and we're like, oh, how do we meet these people if we can't meet them, right? And I think the way in which you treat your LinkedIn use, etc., is exactly how you would at a networking event. Okay, and what I mean by that is you wouldn't go up to someone straight away and say, can I have a job with you? Right? It'd be weird if you did, and like I think you'd probably have a pretty low success rate with it. Think about how you would actually go about it. You would have a bit of rapport with them. You would talk about the work that you've done. You try and understand it, and you try and make that impression so that they might want to have that conversation with you afterwards. Okay, so with that being said, each week your LinkedIn is going to allow you to add 100 new contacts a week. Okay, now thinking about this, right, you can, as I said before, the shift in mindset, you can apply for lots of different roles, which probably take on average 15 to 20 minutes to put this really long-winded application. It's not like they make it very easy for you to do, but you're going to do that process, and that's going to probably take you an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours a week. And I'm not saying that has to stop completely, but thinking about you being more proactive and more effective with your time is thinking about who do I want to work with? Who would I love to work with? And that's going to be a really good process for you to go down. And similarly to us as a business, we sit down every month and go, all right, who do we want to work with as clients? We put together a bit of a spreadsheet and we go, all right, these are the types of clients we want to work with. This is why we want to work with them, and et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Then think about, in that organization, who is going to be the most relevant person to you in your field. Okay. So if you're a creative, I would say that the creative director is going to be the person that you want to get on their radar. If you're looking for a role in marketing, I'd say that the marketing manager or the CMO would be on your radar. Okay. So start building out an idea in your head of the market and who you want to be in front of, okay? And start actually putting in a bit of structure behind your job searching process, okay? So this does take time, and I think it can feel a bit of a slow process to start with. But again, it's just the alternative is applying for jobs and having that. So start by really mapping out who you want to work for, okay? And there's nothing wrong with having your really A-star clients. I mean, we all know who are the dream employers. You know, start big, go big, and then obviously you can start working it down, okay? But thinking about those 100 contacts in a week, drop them a personalized message, okay? Okay, thinking about it this way, has that person produced some content on LinkedIn, okay? A quick way of getting on their radar is commenting on their post, okay? Regardless of seniority, putting content out there is quite a vulnerable situation, okay? Even the most senior person. So being that person who comments on that and starts a conversation with that person's content, again, it's going to elevate you, put you on their radar. And guess what? When you drop them a message saying, hey, really loved your comment on this, I wanted to introduce myself. I'm a marketing graduate. Love what you guys are about. If you have some time over the next couple of weeks, would love to grab a coffee for you and have a bit of personality about it, okay? I'm not going to say that's going to have a 100% success rate, but if you're a hiring manager and someone has demonstrated the initiative to reach out, they've read your content, they've done a bit of due diligence around who you are and what you're about, like, that to me is initiative. And I think that's half the battle when being a junior candidate is demonstrating that you have that level of initiative, particularly with companies that, you know, are quite hard or desirable to get in front of. So you have that short window, okay? So again, reaching out, customize, personalize the message, and do that. And as I said, you can do up to about 100 a week on LinkedIn, okay? Any questions on that? Just before we go on to the next bit.
Nothing in the chat yet, but I'll let you know if question comes up.
Cool. Great. Okay. So that's probably the first part is building out your network there and really seeing that as an ongoing project. And I like the compounding effect of this is, if you, and I'm not saying you're going to have 100 a week, but say you did 20 a week, okay? Over the course of the year, your network of people that are very relevant to you is growing all the time. So there is never a better time to start this process than right now today and building it out, okay? I have genuinely seen people at entry level through this process find themselves in really good companies and really good positions because they proactively worked on their LinkedIn game and built a personal brand, okay? So that is, before we do anything, that is the number one, is getting yourself on people's radar.
We do have one question.
Yeah.
Adrian asks, don't you have to be connected to send a personal message? I always struggle to get them to respond because LinkedIn asks for a premium account.
Okay, sure. So one of the options on LinkedIn is, instead of, if you are having that issue, you can actually follow someone before you actually connect in with them. So if you follow someone, that will mean that their content will still feature on your feed. You'll be able to comment on that and still converse with them, even though you're not a connection. Okay, so if you are having that issue, follow, comment, and then add the connection. And I think you should have a much better success rate for doing that. Cool. Quick question and again, chat. Does anyone currently post on LinkedIn in any form or?
We've got a couple do like post or like comment, some people not yet. So a bit of a mix.
Cool. Okay. Most don't. Okay, and this is I think where the opportunity lies. Okay, I think if you are someone who is posting content, you are probably going to be in a very small percentage of people that are doing it, and I think that's where the exciting opportunity sits. Okay, this is for most people out of their comfort zone. Okay, there's not going to be any silver bullet that's going to stop you feeling uncomfortable. It is a fairly vulnerable process when you put your own thoughts out to the world, but for those feeling brave, I can say without doubt it's been the thing that has impacted our business and allowed us to grow the most. Okay, so this is worth doing. I will 100% say this. So, but like a lot of things, it doesn't happen overnight. And I like my analogies, but if I kind of said to you, you go to the gym once, expecting to get fit, that's not going to happen. Okay. If you go regularly and put in the effort and be consistent with your approach to LinkedIn and content, you will see huge results. Okay. And that's not just, I mean, the science behind that is that the LinkedIn algorithm works in a way that the first few times you post, you are genuinely not going to get much of a response. And that's not to do with the quality of your post. It's to do with the fact that the algorithm needs to be warmed up. And once people have interacted with your post or had any kind of engagement with it, that then means you'll feature on their feed for the next 2 weeks. Okay, so it's a process of putting out consistent content that will then get you visible to your chosen audience. Okay, not going to happen overnight.
Quick question about consistency. Do you mean one post a day? What do you mean by consistency?
Yeah, good question. I would probably say 2 to 3 a week is probably where I would say is the way where you're going to get the most results. Okay, I'll kind of break down what that kind of looks like at the moment, because I think there's a bit of a misconception that you need to have some thought leadership piece for it to be relevant, and I think that people get so put off by the I don't have anything super interesting to say. Okay, but I thought I'd just break down a bit of some pillars, and I would encourage you to sort of, before you start thinking about this, is what's your brand? Like, what do you want people to know you for? Like, is it your creativity? Is it your thoughts on gender? I guess having a list of your values which make up you as a person, right? And then once you have those, as a sort of process, get a pen and paper and kind of put words on the page of like, what do I want my market or my audience to think about me. Okay, that's your value proposition, or that's your brand. That's brand Adele, and brand who, you know, that's who you want to be known for. Okay, so once you have that as a form of basis, that's when we start putting into play the content pillars. So the content pillars I would have educational. Okay, so one of the educational pieces, people assume because you're a graduate you haven't got something that's going to that your audience are not going to be interested in, and I think that's really not true. If you're just graduating, you've got a really interesting perspective on the way in which material is being taught at university. I think you've got a really interesting perspective on what it means to be 18, 19, 20 in the world. And I think there's some really good bits that the imposter in you will tell you that you haven't got anything interesting to say, but I guarantee you do have something interesting to say. So the educational piece is something which, regardless, is a pillar that you should have in your content strategy. Okay, relatable. Okay, everyone likes relatable content, right? And it doesn't mean, it's not about tooting your horn and saying how good you are. If anything, it's actually just being real with you, with your audience, right? Don't try and be something you're not, or don't like, it's not about this Instagrammable world of, you know, I've done this, I've done that. Actually be honest and say, look, I'm finding it really tough at the moment. This is what I find challenging. Anyone else find this challenging? And people buy into that. People want to be able to forge connections with people that are going through the similar position. Okay, so don't be afraid to be vulnerable, and it's not all about painting this ideal world for you. Okay, inspiring. So like, what's something that's happened? You know, people like positive news, and if something has happened to you, whether it be you had your first job interview, or you got your first folio reviewed, or you've got something that's happened to you, right? It's not all about celebrating massive wins all the time. It's about just taking little bits of success and bringing them to life in a story. Okay, entertaining. Again, it doesn't have to be serious, right? Have fun with LinkedIn, right? People like, actually, there's a lot of research behind this. When you become super corporate and super serious, people get bored of that. People want to be amused and entertained. And I'm not suggesting you become stand-up comedians on the platform, but have a bit of fun with it, right? And that again is just a very simple way of standing out from the rest of the content that is being put out there.
We have a quick question about timing.
Yeah.
So in regards to the time of day that you post, does that have to do more with what your profession is or what your brand is, or should you post at an optimal time where you think people will be more likely to see it?
Look, there is research that will tell you that certain times of the day will have a better success rate in terms of eyeballs, but I probably wouldn't focus too much on that for now. I think for me, it's more about just keeping that consistency up. Okay, that's probably the thing I would focus on. You know, obviously sometimes the algorithm will do that. I mean, I've given up on trying to understand exactly how the algorithm works, but yeah, the thing that I would say, and you know, if you are looking at tracking your progress, is focus on 2 or 3 a week. Okay, the showing up piece is the hard bit. You know, so many people will come off this and go, yeah, I'm going to do that. 2 weeks down the track, you've stopped, and it's because you haven't necessarily seen the success that you're hoping for. So it's just more about just persevering, keeping going with it, and knowing that like there's so much opportunity from it. Like it literally is like, imagine like I said, a big networking room. You've got that on a platform where everyone's interacting at the moment, and you've got really great people, organizations you want to work with in that room. Don't waste the opportunity. Okay, don't spend your say flying endlessly on Seek. Use this to build a community on your LinkedIn, and honestly, you do that for a year or 2, you will 100% reap the rewards for it. Okay, so it's just whether you're going to play the long game with your career. Okay, cool. And I've got to just get comfortable being uncomfortable. Okay, I know that's probably quite cliche, but being a job searcher and being at the start of your career it can be quite a tough time. You know, you're trying to convince someone you've got the experience, you haven't quite got the experience, you're trying to figure out like what am I actually looking for at the moment, okay? This is all natural feelings, okay? And you know, given that, I don't know the age of some of you, but you know, the last few years have been really tough, okay? You know, around that self-confidence and building that out, right? And I completely get it. But you're not alone in that. And every one of these webinars that I've done, there's a consistent feeling of like, okay, am I interesting enough? Am I good enough? Am I this, right? You're not alone on that feeling, okay? So push yourself, get out of your comfort zone, and know that you're really on the path to some really good opportunities and professional development, okay? Like, you can really tell a really good personal brand story through consistent content, values, and whatnot, and that will get noticed by the right people if you do it enough. Cool. So I think we'll sort of stop there. I'm gonna move away from sort of that personal brand piece there. I think I've gone into it a bit. Unless anyone had any quick questions before we move on to the next one.
Not yet, but I'll let you know.
Cool. Internships. Has anyone done an internship on the call?
Got full raised hands, no in the chat. Yes, 2 internships. Yep.
Leah, what was your experience with internships?
They were unpaid. I did multiple at the same time before trying to get a job, essentially. So a lot of work, getting internships and doing internships.
So I think I said at the start of this call, I'm not going to sugarcoat things and tell you impractical advice. I'm going to tell you stuff that I genuinely think will get you a career. Yes, do an internship, and I can't speak highly enough of this. I have over the years been able to place someone with as little as 2 weeks experience on an agency with a name on their CV, just because I can leverage that as a reason to speak to a client and say they've done an internship. I think they've got the right attitude. I think you should meet them. And it's that tiny foot in the door moment that that often people in this avoidance of working for free, and I'm absolutely not encouraging you to work for free, but like, put yourself in the way of an opportunity. You know, if there's an area that you want to get into, and I'll kind of go around this, but you've got to create that that opportunity for yourself, in the sense that, you know, making tea and doing admin jobs in a really cool company for a few weeks where you get to experience something and probably make inroads and make connections with people, like that's the magic. That's better than a job interview. You're in the door then. You're actually able to demonstrate your passion on a period of time. So absolutely, without doubt, an internship will definitely give you that. And I think the reason why is a lot of people now are reluctant to do internships because they think it's something that they shouldn't have to do, or they feel like they they don't need to do that, right? And that's cool, okay? And that, if that's your values and your prerogative, then I'm not going to try and persuade you. But just know, again, from a recruitment perspective, if you've got a name on your CV and that little bit of experience, you are going to have a far better chance of getting a job.
Quick question.
Yeah.
So what counts as enough experience?
In an internship? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah. Enough to put on you, like genuinely, like 2 weeks, I think is something that you can put in there. But again, how long's a piece of string? Like, I think if you can legitimately say you've worked in an organization, and in that time you're doing an internship, you can get exposure to as many different areas within the business as possible, which can then be used to fill on your resume. That's what you've done in that organization. This is what you've been involved in. That is going to be a big bolster to your CV, rather than just simply working in hospitality or whatever like that, right? And I'll come on to why hospitality is great in a second, right? But if we are trying to move in the direction of marketing, creative, etc., any kind of brand on your CV with a relevant experience linked to what you're after is going to be enough to have a positive impact. And look, be honest, most places will pay you something nowadays. I think whether it's covering the cost of your travel and a little bit in the side, but I think most are, I think those dark days of hopefully the dark days of making people work for free are coming to an end. But look, if you want to get on the front foot and beat the rest of the competition, maybe a 2-week unpaid internship is a good use of your time.
We have a question. Why do junior roles ask for so much experience when they know we're just students that have come out of university?
I think that's something that's never going to change. I think that ultimately companies are trying to get as much bang for buck as they possibly can. And I think they want to pay entry-level rates and ultimately do so, but want experience. So it's just a natural human wanting more than what you're going to pay for. So look, I think that's never going to change. Again, it's that mindset. We can either get frustrated by it and go, look, this is what they want, and I don't get that opportunity, or we can take the other mindset and go, right, I'm gonna get in and prove myself. Okay. And I've placed so many candidates over the years that have got an internship. And if you're an agency owner, and I'm going to speak specifically about agencies at the moment, if you're an agency owner, there's a very good chance that they at some point did an internship in their life, and they will automatically resonate with someone who has done an internship and go, do you know what? They probably are keen. They're good to learn. Let's give them an opportunity to at least meet them. Okay. So just put yourself in the perspective of the owner or the hiring manager. They probably have done an internship at some point.
So got quite a few questions.
Yeah.
Actually. And I think you're about to talk about this on the next slide. So not many companies offer internships. So how do you approach that?
Good question. Great. Okay. So I have put this together now, and I have got a few examples that I've thought that you could potentially use on this. So is anyone familiar with Mumbrella or Pedestrian, the publications at all? Yep. So on there is there's obviously news on the industry around who's won new clients, who has it's a really useful place to be looking. Okay. Now scenario which I would do it, and I'm going to just say exactly how I would do it if I was looking for an internship. If I saw on the website that agency X has just won this piece of work, I would go, they're going to have an increase in workload coming up. Okay, that's a fact. So how I would approach it is I would look on LinkedIn, or if there's an email address you can get it, I would drop that managing director or the most senior person I could find in that organization, and I would literally say something along the lines of, congratulations on winning X client. I'm sure this win is very exciting, and I wanted to see if you needed any extra help over the coming weeks. I'm currently studying advertising, marketing, or PR, whatever, and would absolutely love the chance to help your agency with the admin that I'm sure takes up a lot of your team's time. Love the opportunity to demonstrate my passion for the industry and get some first-hand experience, and I can't think of a better place to get it from. Okay. I mean, first off, you're not just going down the line of, hey, do you have any jobs? You've shown initiative. You've seen that, you're celebrating for them. Oh, well done on the win. Great. No business owner is not going to be enjoying being congratulated on a new win. So therefore, you've already connected with them on that level. You've offered to do the things that take up extra time for their team. Again, one of the challenges or the concerns I find that businesses have is bringing someone in going to create more work for me than it's going to actually help. So by disarming that conversation and essentially saying, I'm happy to do the admin work and the junior stuff that is probably going to take up more time for you, is probably a good way to go about it. Okay. Again, this isn't 100% foolproof, and you're not going to get 100% success rate, but I think it's better than waiting to see an internship come up, which is obviously going to be very competitive. Okay, and often the smaller agencies are often, you know, 10-20 person agencies, and you know, you can actually get to the decision maker or the owner of the business pretty easily through LinkedIn. So yeah, that's just a thought on that one. Okay.
We have one more question on internships.
Yep.
So I did 2 internships at the same time over 5 months, mixed bag of content creation, basic analytics, meeting with the marketing team every week to plan. Would that count as good experience for junior roles, because I'm actively applying for jobs and not hearing back / only getting rejections?
I think it's great experience, and I think that it sounds like you've worn a few different hats. So what I would look at potentially, I don't know the exact direction you want to go into, but having your resume to reflect the exact direction you want to go in, rather than listing everything you've done. Sometimes that can put off a reader if they see a bit of a mix and they kind of go, well, what are you after? So if there's different avenues you want to go down, I'd tailor one CV that really reflects on one aspect of your experience, and the other CV to reflect the other aspect of it. So it's really dead clear that this is the sort of work and background that you bring and offer.
Yep. And we've just got one comment about your suggestion to reach out to agency owners. I previously did this for my internship, sending messages like that to agencies, and like didn't get a lot of responses. Yeah.
Again, it's not like, but I think what I would sort of encourage then is imagine if you reached out to them and they'd seen some stuff that you'd written on LinkedIn, and it wasn't a cold introduction, that you'd slowly started getting noticed by them. You know, you'd previously commented on some posts they'd done. You know, you've warmed up that relationship. Okay, so going back to that analogy I used to start around that networking event. Okay, you don't just go and ask for the job straight away. That's where the whole process begins. Okay, so you're warming up, you're building out your network, you're demonstrating your value, etc., and you're getting on their radar from a sense of your values and stuff like that. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't think I'm saying this is going to 100% work, okay? But I'm trying to get you to think a little bit outside of the box around ways in which you're going to have more success rate than just pressing apply. Okay, this will take tenacity and will take consistency, and it's not going to happen overnight, but they're probably going to create better results than just the standard approach. Okay, cool. Okay, so I hope that's kind of we've kind of covered that on internships. Okay, that all good? Does that sound good?
Yeah, I don't think we have any more questions.
Okay, just on that as well, we will be, and we have done in the past, the comms will go out in the future, but we will be doing a mentoring program as well, which will be connecting senior people from the industry with people like yourself, and that will be over a two occasion process over Zoom. That typically works in a way in which the first meeting will be a meet and greet, pick their brain on the industry and tips for that. So you'll be able to not just hear from my perspective on things, but you'll actually be able to hear from the horse's mouth, you know, from a creative or whoever. We try and match people up based on the area that they want to go into and the person there. So that would be the first process. The second one is they often give you a small task to respond to, and that would be a really good practice for you to get in the habit of how you would work a brief. Okay, so that will be coming out in the not too distant future, so keep your eyes out for the mentoring program. Okay, cool. So cover letters. I'm mindful of time. We've got about, I might just have to skip through a few bits because I'm mindful of your times. Cover letters. Absolutely think they are effective, and I definitely would not be applying for jobs without a cover letter. And I would also make sure that the cover letters are personalized. I think if you're doing a generic cover letter, there is zero point in doing one. You might as well just add your CV. For me, your cover letter is a way of identifying that you understand the organization, their tone of voice, what they're about as a business. So if you are applying for a company and not putting in a cover letter, you're probably missing a trick here. So I've got some 4 quick points that I would include in your cover letter. So I would articulate why you want to work for the business, and don't be afraid to show some emotion and personality. If you're passionate about the work they do, what they stand for, tell them they want excited and passionate people working for them. Check out their website and see if you can find the company's values. Talk about how their values align with yours and how important they are to you. Do some social media stalking and Googling of the CEO and senior leadership team to find any thought leadership pieces they've written. If you can then incorporate that into your cover letter, it's going to be a good way of showing initiative and showing that you've done your research. And then lastly, hit up their company social media and ascertain what their tone of voice is like. A good cover letter will reflect their tone of voice, and therefore will be able for you to demonstrate your ability to read the room. Okay.
Quick question on cover letters. Should you always do one even if the company doesn't ask for one?
Yes, personally. If they're a company that you want to work for, again, it's standing out. Okay. If you're one of and I've heard many people, business leaders say, I've hired someone based on their cover letter. Okay. If you are competing with a lot of people, then give yourself that opportunity to stand out. Okay. Really demonstrate you've done your research, write a compelling reason why you would be a good fit for their business. I cannot see any harm in it. It's going to take you an extra 10-15 minutes. And this goes back to this, like, selecting the companies you want to work with. Okay. I think moving away from a quantity versus quality approach to your job search, and I know it is a bit more time consuming. Okay. And this stuff isn't going to just happen overnight and be a quick solution, but it's going to give you a better success rate. Okay. Okay. Cool. I'm gonna just go through this very quickly because we are a bit behind schedule. But so how to present your work? I've mentioned here creating your own website and an online portfolio. If you are lacking commercial experience within your portfolio, I would 100% work on dummy briefs. So coming up with work that would be hypothetical. So if you were applying for a certain company, imagine how much you're going to stand out if you were able to incorporate their branding and imagery on a portfolio that, and even you could position it as, hey, look, this is an idea I had with your brand. This is how I think it could translate into this, and be able to talk through that. I've seen that work really, really effectively with that. So yeah, definitely, if you are missing that experience, don't be afraid to put together mock briefs for yourself and respond to them, because I think one of the biggest things when speaking to creative directors is that critical thinking and how you would go about solving a problem is the part that they're most interested in. I think some people get a bit lost in thinking that their folio has to be this really finished product that looks amazing and but ultimately the biggest thing that they're going to want to know is what was the problem and how you went about it. And I think if you can articulate that in your portfolio, it's not going to need to have heaps of commercial experience, particularly if you're going for an entry-level role. Okay, so we'll run through this, and I can share with you this slide afterwards if you're sort of running there. Also, as well, which is something which people don't think about, and one thing I'd 100% is instead of being a job searcher as well, get yourself an ABN number, so an Australian business number. Okay, it's a small process, but automatically you are then thinking like a business owner. Okay, and start building out your experience through all different channels, and it doesn't have to necessarily be your dream employer, but there's plenty of work around, and small local businesses who might need a flyer done, or they might need their menu updated at the cafe or something like that. Again, it's experience. Okay, this is the stuff that we can curate and tell that story. So absolutely register an ABN number, register a website domain, and whilst you are looking for work and you are struggling with that, instead of just having nothing on your CV, you can have your business name or your agency name, which you've created. Again, it might feel a bit impostery, but lean into it. All right, there's plenty of people that I see do it. Register a business, take on work, produce work, and that's just them telling a story. And then you can then start building out your portfolio of fairly small size projects. But again, it's going to have something to show, and even include your uni projects in there as well. Okay, lean in on that. Okay. It's very easy to register an ABN number as well. So you just literally Google ABN number, start registering it, and then start getting in the habit as well of sending invoices as well. Extremely useful life admin experience of running contracts and putting your invoices in together, etc. And if anyone has any questions about that, let me know. Okay. Cool. And I'm just going to quickly rush through because we are running. Tips to get started. So like you sat there going, okay, what should I do? Okay, so get yourself to some networking events. Okay, General Assembly. We're out of this lockdown. I know we have been for a while, but get out there, start mingling, start having conversations, meetups. Googling, design meetups. There are a ton of them. There's an organization called Never Not Creative. I look at that. I think they've got an event even in Brunswick in a pub, and it's like 3 hours networking for people exactly like yourself. Okay. It's just there's so much of it out there, and getting to in-person events is absolutely critical. Finding a mentor, as I said, we'll be running our mentor program as well, but hey, look, if you see someone on LinkedIn that's doing some cool stuff, reach out to them. Hey, could I buy you a coffee? Could I catch up with you for 20 minutes? Reach out to people. It's actually surprising the number of senior people that really want to help junior people. You're not pestering them. Actually, like selfishly, people want to help junior people because it makes them feel good. So, utilize them in that and really kind of get your network built. So I've said about registering the ABN number. On our website, there is an interview prep pack, which is under our resources section on our website. That just kind of talks you through. It's a fairly detailed blog around just the process of getting ready for an interview. So there's some pretty useful tips on there. And yeah, apply for some internships. Okay. So people here that if you're looking for some inspiration on people to follow on LinkedIn, I've put some people in here. So there's a guy called Justin Welsh. He really talks about starting your own business and working for yourself, and that's solopreneur. Michael Saliba, he's a great example of someone who was he was at uni. He approached me to do an internship. He started working at Creative Natives, leveraged that experience, then got a job working at a PR agency, and is now up and running there, and he's now creating content. Rosie Chong, a talent I placed years ago, created a personal brand, and in 2 years she's gone from nothing to being a guest speaker at a lot of events. Okay, again from nothing. So looking at the way, like I'm sort of mentioning these names as ideas for people to follow, and then there's a couple of other theirs who are quite recruitment specific, but you'll get the gist of what they're about in terms of what they post about.
I'll also send out these links later on, so don't worry about trying to find them right now.
Yeah, cool. Cool. So just some final thoughts on this, okay, and things that I want to just leave you on. So call center experience is really, really good. It's so useful, and for me personally, it's one of the experiences in my career that I think I took the most from. If you can get experience in call centers, I think it's incredible. I think if you speak to any agency at the moment, their whole positioning with their clients and brands is around that customer experience. And I think that customer experience can come in many formats, hospitality, etc. So for those who have got like hospitality call center experience, please don't think it's irrelevant, because I think it's actually more relevant than a lot of people actually consider. So don't feel like your experience isn't relevant. Don't worry if you haven't got it figured out yet. We have a mental culture these days of thinking we have to have our shit together and have our lives all planned out, and we have to be earning X amount of money to be keeping up with society. But for me, I think, and this goes back to that internship and getting experience, right? Play a long game with your career. Find an organization that is, one that creates careers and looks after you and has a long-term play, rather than just trying to find a business straight away. And I know can feel like an unrealistic game, but, be willing to, to me, it's better to go in a more junior level at a great company than a senior level in a not so great company. So treat your career like a long-term game, and don't feel like you need to be ahead, because the candidates I think have the most successful career are those who are looking at an opportunity for what am I going to learn, how am I going to develop, and what's going to be the overall offering for the business versus just what I'm going to get paid. Okay, plenty of years to make money, and I'm not saying this from an insensitive perspective, because I know everyone's got bills and things to pay, but if you are in a position where you can be a bit selective around salaries and stuff, then I would say that, look at the opportunity for everything that it offers. Okay. Know that everyone to a certain degree doesn't know as much as they think. Okay. And myself included, I get nervous, I get imposter syndrome when I'm talking on these events, because I don't really think I have anything interesting to say. We've done them a few times now, so that's why I keep doing them, and I'm still trying to convince myself that I have some sort of value to offer. But that's everyone, right? Everyone has that feeling that we're all sort of faking it, and to a degree, everyone is. So don't let that fear of looking stupid hold you back. Just go for it. Know that nothing really bad is going to happen generally, and those rejections will probably help build you and get you ready for the next challenge. So don't see setback as like that's game over. Just see it as that one step closer to where you want to get to. And I think just finish with have fun, right? We didn't get into the creative space to be super corporate and be all serious, and that's whether it be your content, whether it be your folio, whether it be the way in which you interview, be comfortable just being yourself and enjoy it, right? And I think that you do that, you're going to end up probably in the place that suits you, rather than trying to be all things to everyone. So just enjoy it.
So we have two quick questions.
No, go for it.
Going back to internships.
Yeah.
What are some of the green flags and things to look for when you're trying to find an internship?
I think looking at an organization where they have been able to bring someone from a junior level to a senior level, I think is a really big green flag. So you can obviously look at people within an organization and look at the tenure. And like for me, I look at they've taken someone from an entry level right the way up, so they obviously look after and nurture people's careers. I think just the way in which they interview you, I think it's like anything, that if they ask you genuine questions and have a real interest in your career, that to me is a big green flag. I think if they're just focusing and trying to get as much out of you for free as possible, then that's a big red flag. So I think like anything, it's go with your gut and sort of make a call on a case-by-case basis. But you know what, sometimes with an internship, it isn't going to tick all the boxes, and sometimes it is just being getting that bit of experience. So if you can kind of sort of mix the both of them up, being okay with it not being perfect, but I think that's kind of a little bit on that.
Last question. My work isn't always brand friendly. I love my humor, so should I post this stuff to LinkedIn or just leave it out?
I guess it's how inappropriate it is, to be honest with you. I mean, if it's fun and it's what you want people to take from it, like if it's true to you and that's your personality, then I wouldn't advise against it. But again, I don't know the extent at which you want to be inappropriate. But like I think if it's done in a way, and maybe do a bit of a check around, whether you could ask someone whether this is appropriate or not. I mean, and you can shoot it through to me if you want, and I can let you know whether I think it's LinkedIn friendly or not. I guess, you know, if you're wanting to sort of benchmark, I mean, in fact, everyone in our team posts content all the time, and that ranges really ranges from levels of seriousness, and we're not super corporate ourselves, so some of the fun stuff is quite tongue in cheek. So as long as it's meant from a fun perspective, I don't see anything wrong with it.
That's it from the chat.
Awesome. Great. I really appreciate everyone's time. I know we're all busy, and hopefully there's something you got from today, and hopefully it wasn't too long. Feel free to connect in with me on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions or anything like that. And also, if you know anyone who is similar to yourself that who might get something from this, I'll be doing these every month. And hopefully we'll get some new content done, because I think this is aging a bit. But yeah, if there's someone else who you think might benefit from it, feel free to shoot them my way and get them registered on it. And yeah, hopefully we'll get some more people on it.
Awesome.
All right. Cool. Good luck, everyone.